Welcome to this advanced clinical masterclass on the third member of our oversensitivity group, Walnut. Known universally in the holistic materia medica as the spell breaker and the shield of transition, Walnut is perhaps the most strategically vital remedy in the entire batch system for protecting the soul's path during major life upheavals. Today, we will explore how this remedy acts as an immutable energetic seal, allowing the pioneer within each patient to take the final step forward into a new reality, unhindered and uncorrupted by the hypnotic noise of the past. To understand walnut at an advanced clinical tier, we must contextualize its exact positioning within Group 5, which is oversensitivity to influences and ideas. This group targets the porous ego boundary layer. Recall our clinical trajectory where agrimony actively deflects tension with a superficial social smile and where Centauri completely collapses inward in submissive compliance. Walnut introduces us to an entirely different dynamic. Here, we are exploring the vulnerability of the individual will, not because of congenital weakness or a desire to submit, but because of the natural loosening of energy patterns that inevitably occurs during a massive phase of developmental growth. The negative walnut state is a state of temporary, acute vulnerability during periods of profound life transition. When a patient initiates a major life shift, such as a new professional path, a geographic relocation, or a spiritual awakening, their energetic blueprint must loosen to accommodate the new identity. This creates a porous boundary layer. The patient is not looking for advice or reassurance like a Serato type. They have definite ideals and a clear destination. However, they are simply over receiving external noise, leaving them temporarily spellbound by old traditions, family expectations, or the heavy enthusiasm of strong opinions. The therapeutic mechanism of walnut operates on three distinct high vibrational vectors. First, it functions as an absolute energetic armor, providing structural protection during moments of deep physical or emotional transition. Second, it operates as a clinical link breaker, cutting the invisible non-local cords that tie the patient to outward ancestral conventions, codependent relationship attachments, and past behavioral habits. Finally, it instills a vibration of pure constancy, ensuring that the individual remains fiercely anchored to their unique soul command despite the chaotic white noise of the surrounding collective. Let us return directly to the foundational vision of Dr. Edward Bach. In his definitive 1936 text, Bach anchored walnut as a remedy for those who have chosen a clear path of self-determination but face the subtle friction of external deceleration. As we move into his direct definitions, observe how he highlights that this remedy is designed specifically to insulate the individual's inner ideals from being compromised by the dominating psychological fields of those around them. In the 12 Healers, Dr. Bach defined the walnut state with precise clarity. For those who have definite ideals and ambitions in life and are fulfilling them, but on rare occasions are tempted to be led away from their own ideas, aims, and work by the enthusiasm, convictions, or strong opinions of others. Analyze this phrase carefully. These are not weak, drifting individuals. These are purposeful, highly driven people who are temporarily magnetized away from their destination because their field has softened to allow an evolutionary leap forward. Clinically, walnut is a remedy for the pioneers of humanity. It is for those who are taking a monumental step forward, deliberately leaving old limits, societal dogmas, and familial boxes behind. The state arises not from structural weakness, but from the necessary loosening of energy patterns required to shed an old skin. This transition window, the space between the no longer and the not yet, is a highly porous void. Walnut acts as the template that reseals the energy pattern firmly, securing it around the newly emergent identity. Every major breakthrough in therapeutic practice requires the clean severing of a link. Whether it's a legacy family tradition, a deeply entrenched societal convention, or an internal behavioral addiction, Walnut provides the vibrational final step. It operates supreme within the transition window, that delicate phase where the past continues to pull back with heavy gravitational force while the future is still unformed and vulnerable to disruption. We turn now to the profound language of the living plant through the doctrine of signature. By analyzing the morphology, chemistry, and environmental behavior of Jubilans regia, we uncover the exact vibrational blueprint that this remedy introduces to the human energy system. The tree itself tells the entire story of protection, boundary enforcement, and absolute vertical alignment. Look closely at the fruit of Jubilans regia. The walnut meat is completely encased within a hard, woody, highly dense shell. This shell is virtually impenetrable to outside moisture, insect invasion, or environmental decay until the internal seed is fully prepared to germinate. This is a literal botanical fortress. The message written into this signature is unmistakable. It represent it represents the absolute protection of the delicate essence within while it undergoes a massive vulnerable internal transformation. Most strikingly, when you crack open the woody shell, the walnut kernel presents an undeniable perfect resemblance to the human brain. It's divided into two distinct hemispheres and marked with deep gyri and sulci. This explicit signature highlights its powerful affinity for the central nervous system and the primary seat of the will. Walnut works to rebuild the structural integrity of thinking, filtering out ambient collective noise, so that the brain serves only the higher soul's direct command. If you look even deeper into the botanical morphology, the female flowers of the walnut tree closely resemble the structural outline of the human womb. This is a clear signature of incubator protection, focusing entirely on creation, gestation, and new beginnings. Walnut creates a safe, highly insulated, energetic womb for a newly emergent identity, protecting the patient's vulnerable new path from external interference during its most fragile developmental stages. Consider the fascinating biochemical behavior of walnut tree. It exhibits a trait known as allelopathy. It secretes a chemical compound called gibberellin into the soil through its roots, which actively inhibits the growth of specific competing plants nearby. The tree commands its territory with unshakable dominance. This translates clinically into the absolute enforcement of personal space. Combined with its hardwood density and extreme longevity, walnut provides the patient with the unshakable vertical grounding necessary to take the final step of a major decision. We move now from botanical signatures into the physiological domain. How does the walnut state manifest across the human lifespan? Because it is the remedy of transition, it has an extraordinary affinity for major biological milestones, those moments where the physical body undergo rapid hormonal, structural, and chronological reconfiguration. Let us track these somatic markers across the life cycle. The first major physical transitions of a human being occur in infancy. Teething represents the painful structural transition from a purely liquid diet into the world of solid food. Weaning represents the literal breaking of the nutritional and energetic link with the mother's body. Later, entry into school represents the first massive shift from the protected domestic womb into the social collective. Walnut stabilizes the child through each of these physical and environmental adjustments, easing the trauma of separation. Puberty represents a massive turbulent hormonal storm where the child's psychological identity is completely loosened to allow the adult ego to form. In this hyperporous state, adolescents are dangerously vulnerable to peer pressure, societal programming, and distorted archetypes. Walnut acts as an unshakable energetic seal, stabilizing the young adult's central command and protecting their authentic path from psychic interference during this profound neurological and hormonal transition. In the menopausal transition, the female endocrine system undergoes a profound reconfiguration. Hormonal signals fluctuate wildly, often manifesting as hot flushes, insomnia, and intense emotional volatility. Walnut brings unshakable stability to this unsettled time. It serves as an emotional anchor, helping the woman let go of her past reproductive identity and step gracefully into the powerful, wise woman phase of life, completely insulated from societal stigmas or fears surrounding aging. Entering parenthood completely upends the individual's lifestyle, schedule, and identity. For new mothers, Walnut manages the total lifestyle upheaval and shifting physical demands of a new infant. For fathers, it stabilizes their transition into a protective, supporting role and helps them process the sudden loss of personal freedoms. Crucially, Walnut seals the new family unit's aura against the intrusive noise of well meaning advice and outdated family traditions that do not serve the new generation. At a more acute physical tier, Walnut is the premier clinical remedy for jet lag and temporal adaptation. When crossing multiple time zones, the body's internal circadian rhythms are violently decoupled from local environmental cues. Walnut rapidly resets the internal biological clock, resynchronizing the pineal gland and the new physical environment. It also protects highly sensitive individuals from seasonal affective shifts, extreme climate changes, and volatile lunar susceptibilities. Let us now analyze live clinical histories to observe how Walnut operates as a vibrational catalyst in real world scenarios. By reviewing these case files, we can track the exact behavioral transformations that occur when a patient is emancipated from energetic anchors, allowing them to execute major life decisions with total unshakable autonomy. A 38-year-old male executive was required to relocate across the globe for a massive career advancement. Despite his heavy professional ambition, upon arrival in the new country, he descended into severe nostalgia, homesickness, and ungrounded anxiety. He was paralyzed, contemplating breaking his contract to return home. We initiated a protocol of walnut combined with honeysuckle. Within 3 weeks, the toxic energetic cord to his past life was smoothly loosened. He cleared the nostalgic fog, anchored himself firmly in his new environment, and executed his executive responsibilities with sharp, focused ambition. A 45-year-old female had been trapped in an emotionally manipulative, stagnant relationship for over a decade. She had intellectually decided to leave years ago, but every time she attempted to walk away, she found herself magnetically pulled back by her partner's dramatic grief, anger projections, or calculated health crisis. She was emotionally spellbound. I prescribed walnut as a standalone link cutter. The results were instantaneous. The remedy provided her aura with a complete seal. She walked through the final separation process completely unaffected by his emotional manipulation, stepping into independent life with unshakable constancy. Our third file consolidates the clinical profile of a patient attempting to break free from ancestral chains and toxic legacy dogmas. This includes individuals who choose to walk away from long standing family professions, rigid religious structures, or generations of systemic behavioral trauma. These pioneers face immense pressure from the collective family mind. Walnut provides the precise energetic insulation necessary to resist this tribal gravitational pull, allowing the new pattern of behavior to lock into place permanently. To achieve master level precision, we must execute a meticulous differential diagnosis. Because walnut presents as an oversensitivity to external influence, it is frequently confused with other remedies in the batch and homeopathic mathematics. As clinicians, we must look past the surface behavior and isolate the exact energetic mechanism at play to ensure our prescriptions hit the target with absolute certainty. Let us differentiate walnut from centauri. Both remedies involve a patient whose path is already altered by another person. However, look at the root driver. A centauri patient yields because of a deep internal weakness of the will and an anxious compulsion to serve. They lack the raw muscle to say no. A walnut patient, conversely, has a highly definite will and a clear ambition, but they are temporarily loosened by the flux of change, making them vulnerable to the heavy opinions or enthusiasm of others. Centauri needs internal strength, walnut needs an external shield. Now let us contrast walnut with honeysuckle. This differential is vital in relocation and grief therapy. The honeysuckle patient lives mentally in the past. Their mind is trapped in nostalgia, regret, or a longing for the good old days, and they refuse to engage with the present. The walnut patient is actively trying to move into the present and future, but they are held back by the actual energetic cords and anchors of past conventions or habits. Honeysuckle handles the psychological memory, walnut handles the structural energetic attachment. For the integrated practitioners, cross-reference walnut with the great classical homeopathic polycrest sepia. In clinical practice, homeopathic sepia is the premier remedy for the menopausal stasis, hormonal indifference, and vital stagnation, where the woman feels completely worn out by her family demands. Walnut serves as sepia's perfect vibrational companion. It acts as the dynamic catalyst that moves the woman through the change of life, clearing the emotional and hormonal fog so she can step into her sovereign mature identity. Let us master three targeted clinical formulations. First is Travel Shield, walnut paired with olive and scleranthus. This is the definitive blend for jet lag, physical exhaustion, and a circadian resynchronization. Second is Hormonal Seal, walnut layered with scleranthus and wild rose. This trio brings unshakable stability to PMS and menopausal volatility, whereas scleranthus balances alternating moods, walnut seals the endocrine flux, and the wild rose eliminates apathetic resignation. Finally, the life restart. Walnut combined with honeysuckle and star of Bethlehem. This is mandatory for divorce, acute bereavement, or bankruptcies, treating the shock, releasing the memory, and severing the attachment cord. Ultimately, walnut represents the evolutionary advancement of the human soul. Dr. Bach emphasized that this remedy is for those who have made the sacred decision to advance, to break old conventions, to leave old limits behind, and to start on a bold new way. It's a catalyst for self determination. By providing an unshakable vibrational shield, Walnut ensures that the human personality remains completely unfettered, serving only its own sovereign soul command. So we have mapped the extraordinary energetic fortress of Walnut, tracing its architecture from the allelopathic territory of the living tree to the profound stabilization of our patient's life transitions. Thank you for your deep attention and commitment to the clinical excellence. Thank you.